I'm Yuki. I married my husband at Sushi about a year ago. We didn't have any kids, so we both worked. My husband's father passed out years ago, and his wife lived alone. So after we got married, we decided to move in with her.
I've been a housewife all my life. I'll do everything around the house,
she said to me when we moved in. I was willing to help out, but I worked full-time, so that was kind of nice. But then, when I got there… What the? The house was a mess. It was a disaster. When I came here a few months ago, it wasn't this bad. I wonder what happened. So I asked my husband.
Oh, it's always like this. When you and your parents came over a few months ago, they shoved all the junk into the other room.
Oh, I didn't even know what to say. Turns out my mother-in-law couldn't do anything around the house.
Oh, that? I can still use it. Don't throw it out.
But it's full of holes. It took us days to clean up the house. It was a mess. I basically had to do everything around the house myself. I had a full-time job too, so it was really stressful. What happened to the food I made?
Oh, that? I ate it. It wasn't very good. Why don't you just get ready-made food from the deli from now on?
Yeah, you don't have to cook every day. And I like stuff from the deli.
Ugh, seriously? I didn't sign up for this. I was pretty upset, but I still loved my husband, so I decided to keep at it. I'm sure things will get better soon. But then…
Hey, my aunt passed away. We have to go to her funeral,
said my mother-in-law one day. My husband was coming back from a business trip that day, so he was meeting us there. I didn't know how to get there, so I decided to go with my mother-in-law.
I'm gonna go start the car.
I locked all the doors and windows in the house and stepped out, but the car was gone. What the? I was pretty confused, but she wouldn't just leave me here. Maybe she went to the store to get a few things? So I waited. But she never came back. Then I got a call from my husband.
Why aren't you here? My relatives are really upset. What's wrong with you?
What? But your mom, she left without me.
What? Stop lying! Stop trying to blame this on my mom!
My husband yelled at me. Then some middle-aged woman came on the phone and yelled at me as well. I was furious, but there was nothing I could do. A few hours later, they came home. I told her I'd drive from now on, but…
This is my car! I don't want other people driving it.
Yeah, this is her car, so you can't drive it.
Okay. For some reason, they didn't want me driving her car. So I suggested that we buy another car, but she said there was nowhere to park it. But that wasn't true. If she just parked a little to the left, there was more than enough space for another car. I wanted to say something, but… There's no point talking to them. Forget it. Then, a few weeks later, it happened again. That day, she asked me to go to the hospital with her.
I got a lot of stuff I gotta carry, so help me out.
I had the day off, so I decided to go with her. She went in for a routine checkup. A few hours later, we headed down to the first floor to pay the bill. But then… As soon as we got out of the elevator, she ran off. Hey, wait! Where are you going? You still have to pay! But she ignored me. She grabbed her bag and drove off, leaving all the other bags with me. I had all this stuff with me, so I couldn't move. It all just happened so fast. Wait, why did she need all this stuff? She just came here for a routine checkup. I looked inside the big duffel bag she made me carry. There was a bunch of towels and a few books. What the? No wonder this thing was so heavy. Ugh, she got me good. She was clearly doing this on purpose. I took some pictures of the bag and talked to my husband about it. He looked pretty upset when I told him. He went to talk to his mother for me, but when he came back…
I talked to her. She said she didn't do it on purpose. It was just a misunderstanding. My mom, she can be clumsy like that sometimes. Just give her another chance, okay?
Seriously? That didn't even make sense. I was starting to regret this marriage. I started thinking about getting a divorce. Then a few weeks later, she got into a car accident. After that, she didn't want to drive anymore. My husband and I didn't drive to work, so nobody used the car for a while. My mother-in-law loved to go out, but since she didn't want to drive anymore, she spent most of her time at home. She wanted us to drive her around, but my husband didn't have a license. So she had no choice but to ask me for help. A few days later, she asked me to drive her to a home improvement store.
This place is pretty far from the station, but they have the best stuff,
she said to me with a big smile on her face. She made me carry everything for her. She didn't even say thank you. Then, when we got to the register,
"Come on, go bring the car around, chop chop!"
So I headed back to the car. I was getting pretty sick and tired of this, so I decided to leave her here. I turned on the car and drove home. When I got home, my husband asked me where his mom was. She told me to drive her to the store, but she just disappeared. I thought she went home by herself.
Oh,
Said my husband. So he called her up. Naturally, she was pissed. I could hear her screaming on the other end of the line. But I didn't care. Before he could say anything, I grabbed a beer from the fridge and chugged it. My husband didn't know what to do. About an hour later, she came home in a cab. She slammed the door open, walked up to me, and shoved the receipt for the cab in my face.
"This is all your fault, and you left me there on purpose! Pay up, now!"
She started screaming at me. So I said to her, "Okay, but you did the same thing to me. Twice, remember? You really think I'm gonna pay for your cab after what you did to me? I don't think so."
"What? But I didn't do that on purpose! This was your fault!"
Stop lying. You embarrassed me in front of your relatives and left me at that hospital with all your stuff. I'm not giving you a dime. Then my husband came and said,
hey, stop talking to my mom like that!
That's when I knew I was done with them. I gathered all my valuables, packed a bag, and left the house. I grabbed a cab and headed to my parents' house. When I told my dad about what happened, he was furious. He called his lawyer to help me prepare for the divorce. Then he called my husband.
This is partially Yuki's fault. Tell her to come back. She can't leave me. Who's gonna take care of mom when she gets old?
She married my son! Tell her to come back and apologize to me right now! And I want to see my grandchildren already!
There was just no talking to them. My dad hung up on them. They called back, but we ignored them. They left a bunch of threatening voicemail on the machine. This actually made our case even stronger. The courts ruled in my favor in the divorce proceedings. The courts ordered her to pay me back for all the damages. She refused to pay, though. She wasn't giving up without a fight. But then, when her brother heard about this, he offered to pay me on her behalf. So now my ex-husband and his mother were in debt to her brother. Apparently, he was the leader of the family, so she had no choice but to oblige. She got a part-time job as a housekeeper to pay off her debt, but got fired in a matter of weeks. A few weeks later, my friend who worked at the same company told me about what happened. During training, she accidentally set the kitchen on fire. It was quite funny. As for my ex-husband, he kept texting me, begging me to take him back. I ignored him, but he didn't stop, so I asked his uncle to talk to him. A few months later, I passed by his house during work, but the house was gone. Not sure what happened there, but maybe it was his uncle's house to begin with, or maybe he was letting them use the land. Who knows? Whatever. I don't really care, to be honest. I'm just glad they're out of my life.
Thanks for watching! Don't forget to subscribe and hit that like button. Bye!